This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Nick George.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Are you in need of a good photographer or a good photography company? One might be closer than you think. Today I have the pleasure of introducing your good neighbor, Michael Still of Still's Life Photography. Michael, how's it going?
Very well. Appreciate connecting today.
Appreciate you being here. We're excited to learn all about you and your photography practice. Tell us about your company.
Well, I'm a little different in many ways. I do client photography and also landscape. It started when I was young with coloring with crayons, and then eventually to fine arts, and that's where I was for quite a while. And then as I got near retirement, I thought I'd better refire up the photography again. I've been doing it for a long time. So a lot of it's been automotive oriented. I do a lot of photography at car shows, people's car collections, private collections, and that sort of thing. But along with that, I've developed quite a following of people that collect my work. So there's a fine art component to it. So recent example was I got a shot of an approaching thunderhead in Cuba, huge storm that eventually turned into a very well-named storm. But at any rate, the setting of it and everything was just fantastic. And that one has developed its own following among scuba divers, not among car people. So, and the reason for that is my wife and I also take people on vacations. So we take people scuba diving. We're heading to Fiji next Friday for 3 weeks in New Zealand. We take groups rafting the Grand Canyon. We explore a lot of the Caribbean. And then in between that time, I spend a lot of time on the back roads of America. That's a real passion, is just exploring every little small town. A lot of times these small town, the stories are just fabulous. And so a lot of the way I look at what I do is much like a reporter or a magazine article. So if you were to come to me and say, I'd like you to photograph my car or whatever, it's not as simple as, okay, let's do that. I need to, just like we're doing today, it's to really understand and get to know you. And then what's that story? And a lot of times I tell people that story may emerge a little bit as we get to know each other. So it's not a process of let's hurry up and shoot these and get something hanging on the wall. Tell me about you. Tell me about your interests, your hobbies, your families. That's when the magic happens, is when it flips my light bulb on and I can say, okay, I get this. I understand this, because the car part's one thing, but anything, any interest that people have just fascinates me. And that's what drives a good photograph. Otherwise, you can take your phone and take a picture. It doesn't matter. So these are very personal to me. And consequently, a lot of my clienteles will have different needs or interests. It might be some of the folks that we travel with around the world. It might be local car clubs. It might be someone that has a very expensive car collection. I've photographed a number of those private collections around the West and in the Midwest. But to me, it's what's the story and how do we tell your story? And I think I kind of have a running, maybe I'm wrong, but I think in general, my photography, probably a third of the people think I'm the greatest photographer that they've ever met. Another third are, well, this is interesting. And another third are, this isn't for me at all. And that's okay. I kind of follow a quote of Georgia O'Keeffe, which was, there is no such thing as success. What you're really trying to do is reveal yourself. And so a lot of times that's our interaction is, let's reveal you. Let's reveal you in that picture. I just did a wonderful one for a guy with a collector car. We filmed it in front of Odell's Brewery, which is a nice setting. But he's a guy I know quite a while, but you stand out there and spend some time, and then you hear the other stories and the more stories. So this isn't a quick process, frankly. But I tend to want to come away with it is that I've expressed what you're about. I've revealed your unknown, not mine, but that's certainly how I look at things. So sometimes that's something you may not realize, and we'll have that conversation. And then it becomes, you know what? This was my grandfather's farm truck. Let me tell you about it. That becomes a really, really wonderful, magical kind of an experience. And I had just a week ago, a gentleman order some prints, and it was that story of the relative's 40 Ford that they'd spent all these years. Well, then it becomes all the story of grandpa and the kids and the grandkids. So those things are really fun. And it reveals itself that way a lot of times too, when I'm photographing old buildings. It's the same kind of story. To just come and take a picture, that's not a big deal. And in fact, with the quality of high-end mobile phones today, you can take great pictures, but does it convey the story? Does it reveal the unknown? That may sound a little corny, and it may be that third of the people go, I don't care about that. But that other third, I think it pulls all of it's a two-way street. We pull all that passion together. I get more excited often than they do, and then it becomes a great experience. And that's really what I try to do. You'll see me occasionally in magazines, although print photography isn't what it used to be. But I've done that over the years, different times. Automotive publications, travel publications. It's still fun, but frankly, it doesn't generate all that much revenue. And also, again, I the interpersonal part is so important to me. Because I'll have competitors, for instance, at a car show, and they will go around and take photographs. And then you talk to people that had those photographs done, and they go, well, it was okay. I go, well, what's wrong with it? He goes, I don't know. It just doesn't feel good. He says, I don't know how you see these things. I said, it's because I see you. Your car is great, but it's you and it's your personality. And so I tend not to fall into that. Pull up, we're going to take a picture next. That's not how it works. And people that put the time and effort into any hobby or interest, whether it's automobiles or travel, it's passion. And that's what I hope to go away with, is that we both look at it and go, hey, there's the story. And so that makes me a bit different. And I'm the perfect photographer for a third of those people. And for a third of those people, I'm not the right fit. And so in between, of course, it goes other ways. But that keeps me passionate and enjoying it. Otherwise, if it was just production photography, which I've done, that's not my thing. It's just more because of my artistic background, that I just see things like a movie scene or like a story.
And did I get this right, that started, you talked about drawing when you were younger, but then you jumped to cars.
Well, if you're a young boy, the first thing you do is you take a crayon and draw a car. And that's, with people in the automotive side, that literally is everybody's story. And then they get the toy car, and then they get the slot car. And if it gets really bad, I have a 68 Mercury Cougar hot rod that I've built up over the years too. So it never ends. But it's kind of an interest certainly that exists in some people, the automotive side of it.
I have it. Right.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
So.
In fact, I got into photography because I was showing cars for Ford when I worked for Ford. And
you were? Okay.
Boy, that people really loved getting a video. They brought them right in, and it was like they already knew me. right? So that's where I learned the power of video, and it's why I do what I do today. So I'm very connected to what you're talking about. I just was wondering how it happened for you. And
well, like I say, that would be the early part. The artistic part of it, I've always had a certain skill to that, or way of seeing things. I think that's probably the comment often people make when they see my stuff is, how did you see that?
Yeah.
And, sometimes it's hard to explain. And if you have that background, the way you see the world, and everyone sees the world differently. And I tell people a lot of times too, I'd like to understand how you see the world, because I can probably do a better job if I understand that. So it's great fun, and I think we kind of share that connection, certainly. But I was in college studying graphic arts. Did the drift away from my major early on, and then somehow ended up in an executive level at a big corporation in the construction industry. But it never stopped my chasing, and the travel, in fact, was great, because I got to see a lot of places I would never have gone to, and meet a lot of people I would never have met. So
I'm going to ask you some more about that in just a second, but I want to know who are your target customers? Because if you'd asked me before we started talking, I would have said the money's on weddings. I'm not hearing anything like that. So, who is your bread and butter?
Well, and car photography is not unlike wedding photography. The emotional attachment's huge, and it's very deep. And so some of those are those conversations you would have with a wedding photographer, trying to understand you and your interests and your hobbies and so on. I mean, it's no different. It's just that's where that passion lies. And partly too, because of my passion, it positions me different from many other photographers. And that's important to me too. There's, I have a niece that is one of the greatest senior photographers in the world. But I told her I could never do what you do. And she is as good as you get. And she looks at me and she says, I have no way to do what you do. So it's how you see the world. And she's just magical the way she connects with high school seniors. So it's passion, certainly.
So you don't really care who finds you. You're speaking to the magazine editorial manager who's looking for a photographer, all the way down to the collector.
Yeah, and I'm involved in a lot of the car clubs and so on. We do and I'm associated with a lot of community stuff that we do for charity, Children's Hospital, and so on. So that base is broader than you would think. And in fact, Northern Colorado's population of car enthusiasts is huge for a relatively small population. We really have a lot going. But also, I've been able to connect through some of the bigger shows with collectors. There's a surgeon in Texas who's very well known for collecting really fabulous cars, and then you see him all the time buying cars at Barrett-Jackson. And then, so that was one where I met a mechanic who was restoring a very unusual car for him, and so that was a connection that's produced stuff. And then, of course, the referrals from there. But it's really the passion of that hobby, and that keeps me into it. But besides the car thing, it's also travel. I traveled for 40 years on business, but I cannot stop traveling now. I had back surgery a month and a half ago. I'm losing my mind right now from boredom. So
Yeah, I
was cleared to drive, so I can go out now. But
scuba diving is probably great for whatever was going on with your back.
Oh yeah, and it's like a lot of us in my vintage. The parts are breaking down from time to time, so it's okay. But the photography, again, back to your original question, a lot of it started with crayons and fine art media all the way through. And so sometimes people say, well, how do you see that? Well, sometimes what I see is something that reminds me of Georgia O'Keeffe, or any of the impressionists. I mean, there's ways to see that. And that's also now I've evolved, and it's very exciting as digital photography came on. That was an interesting thing to transition to, but also the technology now is so incredible. And so I'm doing a lot more digital artwork or digital photography artwork. In fact, I'm working on some things right now for a client that he wants just basically it would be a car that doesn't exist, developing something that he likes. And so we'll see where that goes. But so there's that too, that it kind of gets your juices going, because I wished I were 40 years younger, because it is so exciting to see what's going on with it.
Is the group travel thing that you're doing a separate business, or you just?
Well, it actually, my wife was a teacher and she retired, and she used to scuba dive, and she said, I need to find a way to scuba dive after I retire. So she helped High Plains Scuba in Fort Collins set up their travel. And so she and I take groups traveling around the world. We have other group leaders, but that's become a big part of their business is scuba-based trips. Sometimes their scuba will be part of it, and there will be other things to see. We had one last year that took us all over the Western Pacific. So, that's kind of how that started. But like the river rafting was not something the scuba shop identified with. But what we've created is we have a group of adventurous travelers. And so when we did the Grand Canyon the first time, we reached out to these people and said, what do you think? And boom, now we fill 2 boats. We take 24 people down there for 6 days. And it's a life-changing experience for a lot of people if you haven't done it.
Yeah.
But so that drove it. We're both pretty adventurous by nature.
Who would want to let a professional photographer plan their excursion? I mean, it's bound to be beautiful if you planned it.
Yeah. Well, and it's, travel broadens you so much. We had not been to the Western Pacific until about probably 6-7 years ago. And Indonesia is the most stimulating country I've ever visited. It's just, it's hard to even explain it. But from an artistic and visual standpoint, it's just an unbelievable place. And so we're finding more as we get further into some of these places. But we have one dive destination, Missoul, that takes 22 hours to get to. It's an abandoned Japanese shark finning camp. And because of the distance, the environment is absolutely pristine in and out of the water. And so when you take someone and they're swimming with a ocean-going sea ray that's got 16 feet wide fins, it's thrilling stuff. So.
Michael, please tell our listeners one thing that they should absolutely remember about stills life photography.
I think if there's something to remember, is just in a very simple way, is if you're looking at having someone to photograph or to take photography for you, I think understand what we talked about here. I'm not a senior photo guy. I'm not a wedding photographer. And probably would be terrible at both. But I like to be very engaged with clients and really understand. Sometimes it may not go anywhere, and that's okay, because ultimately, if what we collaborate on produces what you want and you're proud to have it on your wall, we've both won, we're fine. But to chase business for business, no, that's not driving me at any rate. But if you came to me and said, I've got this really cool thing, or we have an old farmhouse in Kansas that we'd like to have you photograph, sign me up. Absolutely. Now tell me about it and who lived there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very personal. I really, otherwise, grab your iPhone, take a picture and put it on your wall. It's okay. I'm not offended. It's, but it's really about vision. And I think that's the difference between myself and many others is, to me, it's the story first, and the product is the result of the story. And if we don't cover the story well, or I don't engage you like I should, the results won't be as good as they could be. So it's kind of an interesting process.
I feel like we could do one of these on every work project you've ever done. In fact, have you ever thought about doing a podcast?
Well, I've given some thought to that because there are, not to bore you to death, but I have 20-some thousand photographs of all over the place. But also I have the stories. The one of the Cuban Thunderhead is a fabulous story. Some of the Grand Canyon stuff. And sometimes too, I had an accidental success recently, and it's become very popular. I was working in the garden, and I walked in, and my hands were all torn up, and an orchid had fallen off onto the floor in our atrium. I picked it up, and I looked at my torn up hand and this beautiful orchid, and that is a powerful, powerful photograph because it captured the beauty and the beast, because his hand is reaching around it. And so the hand is all done in black and white, and the orchid is done in its color, which is kind of a light pink.
Wow.
So those are the kind that, did I plan that? No, it's one of my favorites though. So
that's how it works.
So that's, that would be one. You wouldn't come to me for that, but if I were doing a show, and I do a number of different shows and exhibits, that's one that a lot of times people go, that's really, really cool. I got that story. It's Beauty and the Beast. It's, and so, a lot of creative stuff is a good accident, so.
Michael, how can people find you online? What are all the ways that people can see your work online and discover you online?
The website is stillslife.net without the apostrophe. And then I'm also on Facebook under Michael Still, but also I have another page that's primarily automotive. It's Still's Life Classic Automobile Photography. So you can, if it's car oriented, that's where you want to look. And I post a lot on there so you can look through all kinds of things. The website is a bit more compact, mainly because I just haven't put the time in to keep it up like I should. But those will be more personal projects, or they will be not so much automotive, some of that, but there'll be more landscape, a lot of stuff from the Southwest, from the deserts. So that's a good place to find me. And then
you want people calling you by phone?
Absolutely. Yeah. My number is 303-829-0337. And I suggest that's a good way, or send a text. And I guess to prepare you for the call, it'll take a few minutes. And I think it's just, let's see if we're a good fit. If we're not a good fit, I probably won't do the great job for you that I should do. So we'll have a conversation, and you may feel like, okay. Or, yeah, this is exciting. I have a story. I didn't know I had a story. So let's tell that story. And I tend to tell people, I try to look at your project like it's a magazine article.
I see that.
So,
well, Michael, we really appreciate you being on the show, and we wish you and Stills Photography, or Stills Life Photography,
Stills Life, yeah,
the very best moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpfortcollins.com. That's gnpfortcollins.com. Or call 970-438-0825.